Today is the day we take care of this massive wheel well gap, get this thing lowered, and finally get this thing sitting right. So we have a whole new suspension set up here, Ford Racing springs, had the Ford Racing bump stops, and the BMR lower control arm relocation brackets, which are going to match up perfectly with the lower control arms that are already on the car right there. And that will set up this car beautifully. It's going to lower it, not too much, because at some point we want to put a bigger wheel and tire setup on it, so we don't want to go too low. But the Frpp springs should be perfect for what we're looking for. It's about a 1-inch drop in the front and a 1 1/4 inch drop in the rear, which it desperately needs. I mean, that is a massive wheel well gap. We don't like that. That's no good. So if you're unfamiliar with the Frpp springs or Ford Racing Performance springs, these are a progressive rate spring. Now again, they will drop about 1 inch or so in the front and 1 1/4 inches in the rear. It's a perfect setup. I think I like this because it doesn't slam the car like a lot of other springs do, and it is progressive rate. There are a lot of springs out there like BMR, who I do consider, but they were linear up front and progressive in the rear, and it was 1.5 inch drop, which could have been questionable with the wheel and tire setup I want to go with. Also, you'll get a better bump stop setup with the Ford Racing springs. They match up perfectly, so it'll help with your ride quality. And the red relocation brackets for the lower control arms, which will match up with the red lower control arms that I have. So we got this nice little red, white, and blue thing going on right now. So very patriotic. Has nothing to do with anything. But we're going to start on some of this now. I'm going to work on the rear, get that going. It is the easiest in which to do. And then I'm probably going to continue this over at Gio's house to get the front done, because he has a lift and some other tools that will definitely come in more handy than me just trying to do it here in the driveway. So we're going to start on some of that now, get this car up on the jack stands, and well, we're going to get a blanket down here too because the ground's wet. I just got done washing the car. I thought I was going to go straight to Gio's house, but that didn't work out. But anyway, we're going to get this jacked up and start on the rear and take care of that first. Alright, so slight change of plans. Gio just texted me, said he was home early, so I'm going to head over to his house and get this done. It'll be a lot easier that way. He's got a lift, he's got air tools, and it'll just make my life a lot easier. So big shout out to him. I'm going to drop his Instagram and YouTube channel links in the description down below. Make sure you give him a follow, and we're going to head over to his house and get this done. See you there. Good. We got the struts out. Press the springs. These are the new ones that are going to go in, but first you got to find out what size that is. So we had the final assembly done. Getting a little tongue tied here. New springs are on, struts are set up, going back in the car now, and then the front will be done. Quick side note Gio reminded me of, we made a makeshift I guess we'll call them insulators. Since the old ones were rotted out, we used a piece of hose. What is that, vacuum hose? Yeah. I think it's vacuum hose. So we cut that open and put that on there. That'll work. You don't have what you need, make something work. All right, so excuse all the back and forth, but we got the strut in. Wheels are on. We're gonna drop this down, get that on the ground, and then we're gonna start on the rear. We're getting there. All right, so quick update. We've got the relocation brackets on, which ended up being a rather large pain in the ass. No fault but our own. But you definitely need to rotate the differential forward in order to fit the new trailing arms into their new position. So what we did was put a jack stand under the front of the diff, the front of the pumpkin, and jacked it up, which rotated it right into the position we need it. So that being said, and I don't want to jinx myself again, which I've done twice already today, I think the hard part's over. Right now, Gio's on the other side working on the old bump stop, getting that off. We have new ones here that are going to go on, and then once that's done, the springs come out, the new ones go in, and this project should be pretty well done. Alright, so we're done wrestling the suspension. The springs and bump stops are both in. Looks like the springs were actually the easiest part. All we had to do was drop the sway bar and the shocks, lower it down, the old ones popped right out. So new ones are in, control arms are on, bump stops are on. Get a little look underneath here. So we look at the brackets. Time to put the wheels on, put it back on the ground, and see how low we can actually go with these new setup. So there it is. I absolutely love the new stance. We got rid of all that crazy wheel well gap. Now, as you can see, the front looks almost perfect. It's tucked in to the point where the top of the tire is almost touching or meeting the top of the fender, which is perfect. I love that. The rear, you still have a smidge of a gap. I mean, it's not that big. It might be an inch, but that's perfect. That's the way I wanted it, because the other kits for the car were significantly lower. I mean, to the point where if I put the new wheel and tire package on here that I want, they probably wouldn't have fit. So I like the Ford Performance springs. They drop it just enough to make it look nice, but not so much to where I'm scraping anything or where I can't fit the new wheels and tires on that I want. Also, now that I have the setup with the new BMR, I don't know if you can see it through the wheels. It's pretty visible outside the car, but you can see the relocation brackets through the wheels, the control arm. I'll give you a little peek underneath. There it is. Look at that. Oh, this looks so good. It looks so good. Look at that. I love it. I love it. It looks great. There's one thing I wanted to mention though, and this was something that I considered, but I was told to with the Ford Performance springs, this may or may not be an issue because it's not dropped significantly. So when you lower these, and it's almost any S197 with a solid panhard bar, as you lower it, that panhard bar is going to angle and is going to push that differential off to the right, which I think is what it did. It's pretty close to the edge of the fender there, where on this side, now there's a little bit of a spacing. So I think it did shift the differential over just a smidge. It's not, well, yeah, I guess it is a good bit. What was that, maybe a half inch? It might have been a half inch. So we're gonna have to do something about that. And since it is, I ordered BMR's adjustable panhard bar. So it's gonna match the rest of the suspension, BMR everything, not to mention it's powder coated red to match the car, which is just pretty awesome. So I have everything underneath BMR, everything's red, it matches the car, everything is tied down. Now with that being said, I have to say, this suspension rides better than stock. I mean, the stock suspension was a little stiff, a little bumpy, but with the new Frpp springs, the bump stops, which I was told, I didn't know ahead of time, definitely get the bump stops because it will make a significant difference in your ride quality. So I went ahead, took the advisement, bought the bump stops, and I don't know how much of a difference they made because obviously I put everything on at the same time, but the car rides better than stock. It's smoother, it takes bumps better, and believe it or not, normally when you lower a car, you get more bump steer. This actually has less bump steer than the factory setup is. Factory setup had a lot of bump steer, both front and rear. It was absolutely insane. But now, I would say 60-70% better. Like, it's almost gone. There is still a little bit there, but it is significantly reduced. It's absolutely awesome how well this car rides. So, you got a much better stance and a much better ride quality. Definitely highly recommend this setup. Now, with the springs, you lose all that lateral body roll. So in turn, it's completely flat. It's completely composed. It handles better. And I don't know how much to contribute to the relocation brackets and the new setup there, but the rear end feels so planted. Like it's insane how much more planted that rear end feels. And I can only imagine how much better it's going to get after I get that panhard bar on. So that's going to be a big deal. I cannot wait for that to get here. It's going to be a couple days. Also, one more thing I want to mention. Let's go in here, show you a little something. Get my key out here. Oh, that sounds so good. I love it. But you can see the check engine light has finally made its way on after the H-pipe. So I can't believe it took 2 weeks for that light to come on. But I actually drove around for 2 weeks, no check engine light. I thought I was in the clear for a minute, or possibly that the light was broken, but it finally came on. Also, one more thing. Now this thing goes inside of the H-pipe. I don't know, it's more like a reducer. I think if you're running a 2.5-inch pipe versus a 3, you put this in there. But obviously it's not there. It's not in there right now. And I think that's where I'm getting a little bit of that exhaust leak. At least I think it's an exhaust leak. Unless it could be just nature of the beast and it just sounds like that. But this is going to have to go probably back in. But it's going in the shop for a little something something. I'm not going to say yet. But I may have them put this back in there while they're under there. But you're going to want to stick around for this one. Trust me on this. Stick around for what's coming. I mean, this is coming, but something else is coming. So I'm throwing a little teaser your way. The car is going in the shop. It's getting a few things done. The question is it big? Is it little? Is it going to be faster, slower? Sound different? I don't know. Actually, I do know. You don't know. But you should know, so make sure you stick around. So now the car sits right, it sounds right, and we got a lot more coming. So again, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss the next upcoming videos. They're going to get interesting. And while you're at it, of course, you got to drop a like on the video. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next upload.